Hi. So, this is a presentation for those preparing to list their home for sale. My name is Emily Woods. I am the principal agent for the Emily Woods Group at Compass Real Estate. I am licensed in both Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and our team serves residential home buyers and sellers throughout the greater Philadelphia region. In this presentation, we will briefly review the following topics, but we can schedule a consultation and dive in a little bit deeper on any of these. So we will go over the consumer notice, the listing agreement so the agency agreement, preparing your home for sale, market conditions, the Compass One portal, and an overview of the timeline. As mentioned, our team of experienced agents cover both Pennsylvania and South New Jersey. We actively work with home buyers, home sellers, renters, landlords, and investors. So the consumer notice, this is where we begin the agency relationship. We have to present this. It's required. It's a disclosure that is required by law prior to us having any detailed conversation about your real estate goals. So the consumer notice is going to review the various types of agency relationships. If you're watching this video, I assume that you're listing your home. So in this scenario, we would be acting as a seller's agent. Once an agency contract has been signed, your agent becomes your fiduciary and commits to work in your best interest. Agents owe their clients duties that include confidentiality, disclosure, accounting when it comes to the documentation involved, and reasonable care. Then we have the listing contract. We're going to have to agree upon terms and review and sign this prior to providing any detailed analysis of the property or scheduling photography. Now, we will have a general conversation about market conditions and all of that, but the detailed analysis takes a little bit more time, and that's something that we would do after we've agreed to work together. The listing contract is going to outline the listing brokerage fees, including the buyer agency compensation, which is a negotiable term. We do recommend that we allow for at least 2.5% to 3% in order to remain competitive in the market. And we can talk about that a little bit more. But generally, a buyer is going to need to compensate their agent as well. And they typically like to roll that into their mortgage because they're bringing a lot of money to the table to purchase a home. So in order to roll that into the mortgage, it's got to be included in that purchase price. So the seller has to agree to allow the buyer to do that. We can talk about that more when we have a one-on-one consultation. So preparing your home for sale. First, we do recommend having a pre-listing inspection. That's going to be with either a licensed home inspector and or a qualified contractor. This isn't going to be, unless you want it to be, this isn't going to be a full home inspection where you're going to get a full report. This is more of what we call a walk and talk. And it's going to be with the contractor's going to basically do that. They're going to walk the property with you. They're going to look at your systems. They're going to check your roof. And they're going to see if they can identify any major defects that you likely aren't even aware of. This helps us to get ahead of it. And these things are likely going to be found during the home inspection. And, a surprise is not fun during the due diligence period while we're already under contract. So if we can get ahead of them, it helps reduce a lot of those headaches. It also shows that you have a level of care in your property and gives buyers confidence when you made the effort to repair things ahead of listing. So we're going to repair major defects. We're not talking about little things. wear and tear in the house. We're talking about major defects in systems that really can impact the value of the home. We're then going to remove clutter and any personal items. We don't need that showing. I know that that's not how any of us live, right? However, your home is now a product on the market, and we need to make sure that those professional photos are going to be those scroll stopping images when somebody's browsing the listings on their phone. We also don't need your personal life on display. So, any diplomas, photos, things like that, that are especially personal, we want to tuck those away. Next, we're going to deep clean the house. You don't need the dust on the baseboard and the smudges on the window to distract the buyers from your beautiful home. So whether you do that yourself or you hire a service to come through, it's highly advisable that you have the property deep cleaned prior to showings. Home staging services are available. Those range anywhere from full staging, where they will come in and design every space of the home. This is great for vacant properties, for investors who just flipped a property, or if you're still living in the property, the home stager can come through and look at what your current furnishings and decor are, and they can work with what you have to rearrange, tell you what to tuck away, maybe add a little bit to it. There's a range of services available out there. Your curb appeal is going to be incredibly critical. So step one is those photos. You want to grab the buyer's attention. They're not coming through that door if they didn't, they're not scheduling the appointment even if you didn't stop their scroll. So the photos are step one. Step two is going to be that curb appeal. You want to make sure that you are inviting them into the home. They feel really excited when they just walk up and they're standing on the sidewalk looking at the home, imagining this being possibly the one. So curb appeal is going to be really important. Also, you want to make sure that you're gathering all home-related documents. This is any home maintenance records, warranties, things of that nature. You want to make sure you have compiled and ready to pass on to the buyer. So when pricing your home, let's see, there we go. We don't just make guesses or stick a dream number on your property. There's hard data that we analyze to determine a fair market value for the home. Overpricing the property is incredibly risky, as it's almost always going to backfire on you. If you place your home in the wrong bracket, there's a good chance the buyer who would most likely be interested in your property aren't even going to see it. Their search criteria has a preset to automatically send them listings within their budget. So your home's not going to ping in their portal until you reduce the price. And at that point, you've accumulated days on market and they ask, wait, what's wrong with the house? Also, home buyers are doing the same research that we are, and they're going to know when a house is priced correctly based on the comparative sales in the neighborhood. So what information are we going to look at? We're going to pull the recent sales in your neighborhood. Recent meaning the past few months, sometimes up to a year, if there hasn't been a lot of sales in that area. How do those homes compare to yours in size, location, number of bedrooms and bathrooms, and any recent updates? Some things such as age of systems, your roof, your HVAC, hot water heater can also impact a buyer's opinion of the home's value. We also take the current inventory trends into account. How high is the demand in your area? How quickly are homes selling? Have there been any price reductions? Have homes sold over the list price? And then we're going to provide you with a range of where your home most likely will sell in today's market. You will digest all of this information that we present to you, and then you will let us know how you would like to proceed. Compass One. So when you work with a Compass agent, you're going to get access to a Compass One portal. This is you can access it on your phone or on your computer. It's going to be a portal where all of your documents are going to live. Your comparative market analysis is going to live. All of the information related to your sale, your team, the status of what's going on. It just helps you really to stay organized and have everything in one place. So let's briefly, a brief overview is going to be, okay, so we're going to begin with the seller consultation. So this is just a brief review, but we can go in, we will go on a one-on-one, more detailed consultation when you're ready. So a seller consultation, we sign the listing agreement. We're going to go through and prepare the property for sale, prepare any marketing and social media and all the other media assets that are involved. Then we go and we pre-market the property. The way that we do that with Compass is we put the property in as a Compass coming soon listing, and that's entered into our Compass system, and it's populated across Compass, it's populated across Redfin. It helps kind of tease the market. It's like a coming soon attraction when it comes to movies. You don't just expect to sell out the box office if you tell everybody about the property about the movie on launch day. So it's the same concept of teasing the market, let them know that this is coming, prepare them, get them excited, and then we're going to list the property. When we launch it and we have showings, open houses, all of that good stuff, we receive offers. Sometimes we receive multiple offers. We're going to review those together and negotiate the optimal contract for you. We're looking to come to fair terms, fair market value, all of that kind of thing. So we work with the buyer to find fair terms that works for everybody. Then we're going to sign contracts. Once we come to a verbal agreement, we write up all the contracts. You sign the contracts and all other paperwork. The buyer is then going to go through their due diligence period to really dig into the house and have their home inspections completed, and then negotiate with you with any repairs and or credits or anything along those lines that are, if any major defects and things like that are discovered. But hopefully we've already gotten ahead of those because we did our pre-inspection and we already took care of a bunch of the major defects. So hopefully there's no surprises at this stage. Then we're going to make sure that we're reviewing. So the buyer then has to, once they sign their contracts, the buyer goes through the process of having a formal mortgage approval if they're getting a mortgage. So then part of the terms of the contract is that they need to provide us with a mortgage commitment by a certain date. So we're going to review all of that when it comes in, make sure that everything's moving forward smoothly and they are getting approved for the loan that they proposed that they would. So then you're moving out, you're getting out of there, you're making sure the house is broom swept. On closing day, the buyer is going to come for that final walkthrough. So you need to make sure that all the utilities remain on, all the lights are working, everything's broom swept and relatively clean. All of your stuff has been moved out so that when the buyer comes through, it looks like it's shiny and new and everything's working. The water's running. There's no leaks. Everything's in good shape. Any repairs that were agreed upon are taken care of. And then everybody goes to the closing table. Sellers actually we can talk about this too. You can actually pre-sign a deed package where you don't have to be at the closing table, but sometimes people prefer to be, which is fine either way. And the buyer is going to sign more documents than you in this situation because they have all of their mortgage documents to sign as well. And then the funds get dispersed and the deal's done. So the next steps, you're going to review and sign any documents that your agent is going to send you. Then you can work with your agent to schedule your pre-listing inspection. You're going to discuss which repairs and updates are worth investing in prior to listing, and then discuss a marketing timeline with your agent. Thank you for watching. When you are ready, please reach out and we can schedule a more in-depth, detailed consultation. Have a wonderful day.